A Russian aircraft finally stops with a rally car style drift. Within seconds, a slide inflates and you can see the first passengers make their escape. Strangely and disturbingly, some people are holding their luggage as they run to safety. A couple of brave souls return to the plane in a desperate effort to rescue those still on board, but 41 passengers didn't make it out. This is the first time the vision has been released after authorities spent a year combing through the charred wreckage of the plane. It had only been in the air for 28 seconds when it was hit by lightning after taking off from Moscow. Hello, my name is Lizzie Pearl and welcome to 9 News Watch. The Aeroflight pilot Denis Yevdokimov has now been charged with breaking safety rules, accused of causing those 41 deaths. He landed with a full tank of fuel after being struck by lightning in May 2019. It was the bumpy touchdown which ruptured the fuselage and sparked the massive blaze. Scott Morrison and the National Cabinet have today been discussing the road out of the COVID-19 crisis. The Prime Minister said we weren't yet ready to lift social restrictions. First, we need more testing, greater tracing capability and the ability to tackle local outbreaks better.
A positive thing to say is that we've often found ourselves, as we have now, in a better place ahead of time, and if we're able to achieve that, well and good. But we want to be very clear with Australians that the baseline restrictions that we have in place at the moment, there are no plans to change those for the next 4 weeks.
The National Cabinet also agreed to keep schools open with states and territories to decide guidelines. Parliament will return for a test week in May and the next meeting would be next Tuesday when bringing back elective surgery would be discussed. Australia's first human trial for a coronavirus vaccine will start before the end of next week. Researchers will start recruiting more than 100 healthy volunteers in Brisbane and Melbourne, hoping it will be the one that can protect against COVID-19.
The vaccine is what we call a nanoparticle, a bit of the surface of the virus, which will hopefully generate immunity so people are protected without them getting the disease. So there's absolutely no prospect that this can cause the infection itself.
The subjects will be closely monitored over the next few months to measure its effectiveness. New data out today shows more of us are drinking more often during this pandemic. 1 in 5 Australians have purchased more alcohol than usual while isolating during the COVID-19 crisis, according to research by YouGov. And 70% are drinking more than they usually would. So we're asking on Facebook today, are you drinking more during the pandemic? And we'll have those results later in the show. Well, the World Health Organization has hit back at Donald Trump's decision to cut funding. Bill Gates and Jimmy Carter have also weighed into the debate. Nine's Tim Avia reports.
Well, Donald Trump really doubled down again in the Rose Garden today on his criticism of the WHO, even going as far as to suggest that the organisation covered up the pandemic in China. He also went on again to criticise China for not contributing enough money to the organisation, saying the US was paying too much. We thought it was a relevant question to ask him about what recommendations he had for other countries, given the situation the World Health Organization would find itself in if they all cut their funding as well.
Please go ahead in the back.
Tim Avia from Channel 9 Australia. There have been calls in our country for Prime Minister Scott Morrison to make funding for WHO conditional on reforms to the organisation. Wanted to get your thoughts on that and if you had any advice for Mr Morrison.
Look, I feel very badly about the World Health Organization, but it's been a tool of China. It's been, as I say, totally China-centric.
Now, in answering that question, Donald Trump went on quite a tirade, but did suggest towards the end that maybe he would look at who's funding if they did reform the organisation. Meanwhile, the reaction here to his comments in the US has been mixed. While a lot of people support what Donald Trump has done, there is a growing number of people who think that while WHO does have significant questions and serious questions to answer, the US has been hypocritical in its approach, given that Donald Trump was also praising China's transparency, while at the same time he's now criticising the WHO for doing that. Also in recent weeks, the Trump administration has been touting its donations to the organisation as a way of showing to the American people how serious it is to fight the pandemic. But now that's off the table. The Director General of the WHO gave this response, suggesting lessons could be learned by everyone.
In due course, WHO's performance in tackling this pandemic will be reviewed by WHO's member states. No doubt, areas for improvement will be identified, and there will be lessons for all of us to learn.
Now at today's press briefing, Donald Trump revealed he is sticking to his guns in hoping that this country will be reopened on the 1st of May, despite the mounting death toll and number of cases. He even suggested some states could possibly open earlier.
Take a look at these pictures out of South Africa now, where looters have scrapped over the spoils as a supermarket is ransacked. The thieves throwing groceries to their friends as police chase them down the street in Cape Town. The country has entered its third week of lockdown and lawlessness is breaking out. The curve is flattening in the country, which has recorded 27 COVID-19 deaths. A year on from the inferno that tore through Notre Dame Cathedral, a welcome sound as the giant bell sounded over Paris in tribute to France's frontline health workers. It's the first time the bell has tolled since the blaze on April 15 last year. Restoration work on the 850-year-old building has been stalled due to the virus. Well, our favourite viral immunologist Sarah Fadi is back with some more COVID-19 tips. This time, Fadi's Facts is exploring what we should do with our groceries once we get them home from the supermarket. Take it away, Sarah.
Well, I've just come home from the shops, so I'm going to show you how I put my groceries away safely to protect you and your family during the COVID-19 pandemic. So it's shopping day. We've got that one day of the week or once a fortnight where we're going out to get our groceries. We need to make sure we have a list of things that we need and that we don't touch anything in the supermarket we don't plan on buying. Sanitize your hands as you go to the shops and sanitize your hands as you leave the shops. Your shopping and your groceries when you get home is considered dirty. So I'm going to show you how to keep it clean. So we've unpacked all of our groceries. We're putting our shopping bags to the side. We'll leave those outside or somewhere where they won't be touched for a week. And we are sorting our groceries into like items. So we have all of our packaged fruit and vegetables, our loose fruit and vegetables, anything that comes in cardboard or in a box, anything that's a jar or a bottle, and anything that's in a packet. So this includes breads, wraps, crackers, pasta, all that stuff. That's separate as well. So first up, we're going to start with loose fruit and vegetables. What we have here is a bucket of soapy water, a bucket of fresh water, a drying rack, and a clean tub. So let's start with our loose fruit and veggies. Pop that straight in. And I'm going to give them a thorough scrubbing all around. Okay, then it's going to be dunked into this fresh water here and popped onto the rack to dry. Our loose fruit and veggies have been washed and they're drying here. We're going to move on to the packet vegetables, berries, things like that. What we're going to do is a little bit different here. We're going to scrub the outsides of the packets. Then what we're going to do with these is we are going to dry off the outsides of these packets so that the outsides of these are clean. And when we pop these types of products into the fridge, we won't eat them for 24 hours. Okay, so they go straight into our clean bucket here and straight into the fridge, and we won't touch those for 24 hours. So all this stuff is ready to go in the fridge. Next up, we have our cans, our jars, our bottles, anything that's cardboard and also coated with a plastic wrap. And instead of doing the soapy suds wipe down, we are going to do a 70% ethanol spray. Okay, so you can find this recipe for this ethanol spray on my website. Now, this stuff here just needs to air dry, so we just let it be. In this group here, we have some cardboard items and we have some packaged breads and some deli meat. So if we don't need the cardboard items straight away, they can be set aside and have 24 hours to decontaminate on their own before bringing them into the home or set them aside in a special place. Otherwise, we can wipe down the outsides of these packages with a soapy wipe. So with bread, you can decontaminate the outer plastic, that's fine. You can also put it straight into another container. I don't do that, I just wipe down the outsides. When it comes to things that you pick up at the deli, they're wrapped in paper. We don't need the paper at home, so just take it right out of the paper. Give the item a tie, okay? Seal it off like that, and get one of your soapy wipes, and just do the same process. I hope you found my tips helpful, and if you need extra details, please visit my website. Now remember, the risk of contracting COVID-19 from food is very low. What we're doing here is mitigating risk by reducing potential droplets that have fallen onto our foods while at the supermarket. Stay safe and enjoy.
Thanks, Sarah. New data out today from YouGov shows that 1 in 5 Australians have purchased more alcohol than usual while isolating during the COVID-19 crisis. And 70% are drinking more than normal, with 1/3 having a drink every day. So we asked on Facebook today, are you drinking more during the pandemic? Well, 39% of you said yes, 61% said no. And how about this for a lift up? A 99-year-old World War II veteran has won global admiration after raising £10 million, that's 20 million Australian dollars, for the UK's National Health Service by walking up and down his garden. Captain Tom Moore has set himself a low target, but his cause was taken up by broadcaster Piers Morgan, among others. His pledge has inspired 345,000 people to donate, and Captain Moore now says he'll keep walking as long as people keep donating. Well, thanks for joining us on 9 News Watch. We'll be back again.